The old woman at the yard sale spoke of forgotten histories, of objects imbued with the echoes of lives long past. Among the dusty curiosities, a mirror stood veiled, its ornate frame hinting at a grandeur time had eroded. A strange compulsion drew me to it, a whisper of something profound. Its silvered surface, though tarnished, held a peculiar depth, as if gazing into a still, dark pool. I felt an inexplicable connection, a sense of recognition for something I couldn't quite place. It felt less like an object purchased and more like a destiny embraced. I carried it home, the weight of it surprisingly substantial, a silent promise of untold stories. The air around it seemed to hum with a faint, almost imperceptible energy. It was more than just an antique, it was a presence. I placed the mirror in my study, its dark wood contrasting sharply with the pale walls. Stepping back, I admired its Gothic elegance, a perfect centerpiece for my quiet sanctuary. Then, I looked into its depths, expecting only my own familiar image. But something was amiss. My reflection stood there, undeniably me, yet subtly wrong. It was positioned not directly before me, but slightly behind, as if observing me from over my shoulder. A shiver traced its way down my spine. I blinked, shook my head, and looked again. The reflection remained, a phantom presence just beyond my immediate perception. It was a trick of the light, I told myself, a distortion in the aged glass, nothing more. Yet, the unease persisted, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. I turned quickly, expecting to find someone there, but the room was empty, save for me and the silent, watchful mirror. The air grew heavy, thick with unspoken questions. Days turned into nights, and the mirror became a silent observer of my solitude. Each time I passed, I glanced into it, and each time, my reflection stood a step behind, a silent, unnerving shadow. The trick of light explanation began to fray. Then, one evening, as I stood before it, my reflection moved. Not in sync with me, but independently. My mirrored self raised a hand, slowly, deliberately, and touched its own cheek, a gesture I had not made. My breath caught in my throat. A cold dread seeped into my bones. I watched, paralyzed, as the reflection's eyes, my own eyes, widened slightly, a flicker of something ancient and sorrowful passing through them. It was no longer merely an image, it was a separate entity. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped. The reflection's lips parted, forming words I could not hear, a silent plea or a chilling warning. It was as if a barrier had dissolved, revealing a truth too terrible to comprehend. The reflection began to move more freely, a silent pantomime of actions I had not performed. It would turn its head, gaze into the corners of the room, or trace patterns on the glass with an invisible finger. Each movement was deliberate, purposeful. Sometimes, its expression would shift, contorting into a mask of terror or despair, emotions I did not feel. It was showing me something, trying to communicate a memory, a fragment of a life that felt both alien and disturbingly familiar. I started to see glimpses of other places, other times, superimposed over my reflection. A dark, swirling river, the skeletal branches of trees against a bruised sky, the flickering light of a distant lantern. These were not my memories. Or were they? A creeping doubt began to poison my thoughts. The reflection's silent gestures grew more frantic, its eyes pleading, urging me to understand. It was trying to show me a story, a narrative woven from shadows and fear. The reflection's movements became more focused, its gaze fixed on a particular spot in the room, then back to me. It pointed, its finger trembling, towards the floor, then mimed a fall, a sudden, violent descent. My heart pounded against my ribs. A cold wave of recognition washed over me, a sensation of falling, of impact, of breath stolen away. It was a feeling I had never consciously experienced, yet it resonated deep within my very being, a primal terror. The reflection's face contorted in agony, its hands clutching at its throat, then at its chest. It was reliving something horrific, something that felt like a distant echo in my own mind, a memory just beyond my grasp. Then, its eyes met mine, filled with an unbearable sorrow and a chilling clarity. Its lips moved, slowly, deliberately, forming a single, unspoken word that resonated not in my ears, but in the deepest chambers of my soul. Death. The word hung in the air, a silent, crushing weight. The reflection then pointed to itself, then to me, a horrifying connection drawn between us. It was not showing me someone else's death, it was showing me my own. A memory, long buried, violently resurfaced. The river, the fall, the cold embrace of the water, the desperate struggle for air. It was all there, vivid and terrifying, a truth my mind had meticulously suppressed. I had not bought an antique mirror, I had bought a witness. A silent sentinel that remembered the moment my life had ended, a moment I had somehow forgotten, or perhaps, refused to acknowledge. The reflection smiled then, a slow, knowing, utterly chilling smile. It was no longer behind me, it was me, fully, completely, its eyes holding the profound sorrow of a life cut short, and the chilling satisfaction of a truth revealed. The mirror had not merely reflected my image, it had reflected my forgotten end. And now, the memory was mine again, a cold, inescapable companion. The reflection had done its work. It had remembered for me.